Dragi gostje, naj vam predstavim še poljskega skladatelja Krzystofa Woleka. Wolek se ukvarja tudi, poleg kompozicije, tudi z improvizacijo in z inštalacijami. Je strasten zagovornik sodobne, akustične in elektronske glasbe. Spekter njegovega kataloga je zelo širok, saj obsega povsem akustične skladbe, elektronske kompozicije, dela, ki slonijo na improvizaciji in dela multidisciplinarnega načina izražanja. Za svoje ustvarjanje je prejel številne odlike in nagrade. Trenutno je izredni profesor za glasbeno kompozicijo in vodja oddelka za digitalno kompozicijo na univerzi v Louisvillu.
Okay, thanks, Krzystof, for being here. I'm very happy that you accepted to be part of the Biennale Koper 2020. And we will start now with this short interview in the 4 minutes, 33 seconds. So let's go. The piece we programmed is Mobile Variations. Could you tell us a little bit about the title, if there's a story behind it or not?
Well, the piece is a little bit about the movement in space at the time. And now too, I'm very interested in this new possibility of electronic music of moving the sound around the audience, or in some locations around that is not only centered on the stage. So Mobile Variations, the idea originally, the piece is in 6 channels surrounding the audience. It was that the sound is moving around the audience in various circulations and at various speeds. Yeah, so that's the title.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I've read on your introduction that you didn't use actual concrete sounds for this peculiar piece, but you created from scratch the whole. So it's a little bit the same that Stockhausen did in the first experiments on the electronic music, which makes this piece even more interesting from my point of view, because nowadays the composers tend to use a pre-recorded sound or pre-made. So yeah, that's
absolutely. I mean, the studies by Stockhausen are a perfect example of using this technique of synthesized sound to learn something about the electronic music before you go on and use sounds that are pre-recorded. So for me, it was one of the first pieces that I wrote, and I really wanted to learn some basics about how the sound is created, to understand the sound, and to understand also what makes the sound move in space. In order to do that, you figure out very quickly that low frequencies don't move as fast as high frequencies of specific duration, you can localize much better than the other sounds. So it was, I didn't treat it like a study, because of course we have this whole history behind us. But for me, it definitely was a big study of what is possible with creating sounds that did not have the source in the recording. It's actually much more difficult to create some interesting sounds when you don't have this realistic source. So it was very, very important for me to actually do it this way.
Somehow it's a piece that is really new in itself, in everything that you use, the materials and the way you move in the space. It's a very interesting piece, I must say. Since I know your production, I know that you use a lot the live electronics. So do you feel that your compositions are do you have a future view of your compositions? Will you work more on the live part, which means also improvisations and other things? Or
yes, I moved away a little bit. This is the only really piece that is purely electroacoustic for me. So I started to do a lot more things with live electronics. But I have to say that recently I have kind of ideas about how to go back a little bit into this electroacoustic sounds, maybe this time skip all the processing and just use the, just I like these challenges to create for myself. Not using on any recordings, but what the other idea could be, for example, what we try to create a piece that uses the acoustics of the space, something that Lucier was doing a lot, right? And create a piece that would utilize, would change depending where it's playing. So all of these things are very interesting for me, and the field is so open that there's a lot to explore.
Okay, that was perfect for the 4 minutes 33 seconds, but I want to still make an extra question to you, which is after the 4 minutes 33 seconds. Mm-hmm. So as we are doing with other composers. I know that you also are a very good teacher and I mean a composition professor at the university. Do you feel that there's something new still to add in terms of compositional forms? Because I perceive that I'm coming for, so to say, but then you precise form scheme. I don't know if you had. There was probably some internet.
Yeah, there was some internet problem.
I'm so sorry.
Can you repeat the question, maybe?
Yeah, I will repeat the question. I know that you are working a lot also on the improvisational side of as a first approach to the music, but then you go back to the form. How important is it for you also as a professor? What are you giving to your students in terms of perception of the form of a piece?
I'm a very, very classically trained composer. So I went through this 12 years of high school, and then I did, one university, then I studied in Holland, and I studied in the States, the PhD. It's very, very classically trained. And at certain point, I realized that in order to move and to develop, I have to try to do things that are new for me and are challenging for me. So that's why I moved into improvisation, because it creates a different type of consciousness. The same is with performance also. I mean, you have to make the decisions are made so fast that you are not able to consciously realize that something is happening. And at the same time, this classical training kind of gives you the control over the form and structure. I think there's a place for mixing those things and learning in one area can learn from the other. The idea that improvisation has to be formless is the wrong approach for me. I think it should be composition that is creating real life. So in my approach with students, I try to encourage them to dive into the things that they are uncomfortable with, because then they can discover things and use them in a new and interesting way, and they can discover things for themselves that can open the doors that they didn't know that existed first. That's why I do perform, try to encourage them to perform improvisation if they don't have this experience. And I do try to encourage them to do, sound installations that they can do. Just try things that are different. I think it's very important.
And what did you bring to your traditional compositions from the electronic music? I mean, from the orchestration of a classical orchestra. I mean, do you treat it also somehow like do you use the spectrum of the harmonics? And
I mean, there's so much. There's so much. First of all, of course, I started at a certain point look at the computer-assisted composition. So developing the structures thanks to the computer that you can choose to take or leave, right? The analysis of the sound that you're describing, but if I do it, I try to analyze the sounds that are non-harmonic because they give you unpredictable results. Because I'm so classically trained, throughout our entire life, we are learning about the romantic kind of nature of music and emotions. So going through electronic music was a way for me to remove this inheritance of this baggage that we carry with us, and try to figure out how to create a form that can be interesting and based on maybe motion or stasis, that is not related necessarily to the traditional thinking about how the form and the emotions should be developing to discover new things. And I think that's what's interesting for me. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Krzystof. I think the piece is perfect, fits perfectly in the program, because the program ends with a piece by Stockhausen, which is quite recent and very. And there's also another piece by an Italian composer who makes a great use of the space as you are doing, but on the other way, he uses a lot the concrete sounds, and you do the other way around, which is very interesting, I think, as a juxtaposition.
I'm super happy to be on a program with Stockhausen, of course. So.
Yeah, sure. I can imagine. I will put him as last piece. So.
Whatever works.
It's interesting to see. No. I think it's always interesting because he's the guy from everything started from, and probably he has still something to say. Okay, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with everything.
Ciao, ciao.